and welcome to POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies, bringing you the news you can use as it pertains to the idiocracies in politics. I don't care if you're Republican, Democratic, Libertarian, Independent. There's something you can get from this broadcast. Knowledge is key, and the key to your freedom is knowledge. Vote. Don't forget to vote. Tell someone you know who isn't voting to vote. And don't throw away your vote. Listen to politics so you know how to vote, so you know how to make an impact and do what you gotta do to have a better future for you and your family too. POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. I'm going to make sure that you do what you're supposed to do when it comes to voting. Get the information you need from this guy indeed. POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies, bringing you the truth about politics. No filter. Vote. Don't be afraid to vote. Vote or your ass will choke. Welcome to another episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. Yo, Merc, it's been a crazy, crazy week. Tell us the hot stuff on this particular episode. What's on your mind?
Yeah, man.
What's on your mind? Okay, man.
I don't know what to make of it. I tell you what, I tried to write a little bit early just so I have less to do today, and stuff keeps popping up, man. It just keeps popping up. I saw a story yesterday. I keep pronouncing her name wrong. The woman the young lady who plays Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, I think that's her name is. I keep calling her Gail. I keep seeing an I in there where there's no I. Okay. She, I know she plays a superhero, but she's trying to be one in real life. For all those who don't know who Brett Ratner is, okay? Brett Ratner is one of Hollywood's most powerful players. He directs, he produces, and he finances movies. So he's been involved with stuff like Rush Hour, X-Men Last Stand, The Revenant, Horrible Bosses, stuff like that. All right. His company is financing the Wonder Woman movies, right? So 6 women have accused Brett Ratner of sexual misconduct and abuse, including Olivia Munn and Natasha Henstridge. If you don't know who Natasha Henstridge is, she was big in the early 90s. She was in Species, the science fiction movie, and The Whole Nine Yards with Bruce Willis and that guy from Friends whose name I never remember because he's not that funny. But he actually forced Natasha Henstridge to she forced her to do oral on him. This dude is a monster, and here is from I forgot to put down the name of the magazine I got it from, but the Post quoted an unnamed source in Hollywood who knows Gal Gadot, saying that the actor backed out of a dinner honoring Brett Ratner last month. And according to the source, she doesn't believe that a movie with themes of women's empowerment, both in story and in its publicity, should be co-financed by a man like Brett Ratner, facing accusations of sexual misconduct toward women. Gal Gadot is reportedly insisting that Warner Brothers buy out Ratner's financing deal, or she will not sign on to play Wonder Woman in the next movie. So they finished filming Justice League, of course. It comes out next week. And Wonder Woman 2 is due to be out in 2019, which means that they got to start filming next year if they're going to make it for 2019. Now, if she backs out, no one's going to go see that movie. I don't give a shit who they put in there. So let me ask you a question, Blue. Do you think it's right for her to flex her power in that way? Or do you think it's premature? Because right now Brett Ratner is denying the allegations, but the way he carries himself I think it's probably true.
I'm saying that's not good enough. Thinking, figuring, looking at their mannerisms, like, he did it. Nah, you know how I feel. Evidence, man, evidence. What if this is somebody who's out to get him and just brought that up? Or what if it's a collusion of people that's just out to get him for whatever reason? Or I just think that this is a very scary place to be, that at any given time somebody could point the finger at you and be like, he did such and such, and there's no evidence to support it, but then boom, they're blackballed. Their livelihood is taken from them. I find that very disturbing, to be honest.
It's
even
rough,
like you
but
just
I mean,
took the stance of, he probably did it. You have no evidence to support he did it, except for what he wants to consider his swag.
Well, and that's the thing. His swag is just very, I wouldn't even say alpha male. Like The Rock is an alpha male. This dude carries himself like a caveman, you know? Zoom out. That's an excellent point. If some woman today, let's say, I don't know, Jennifer Gardner just said, well, Dwayne Johnson, otherwise known as The Rock, felt me up and grabbed my booty on the set of such and such, would we be inclined to believe that? And will we start blackballing The Rock? That's a question we have to ask ourselves. That's a good question, because
is it beauty over brawn? Is it brawn over beauty? Because the people that's been accused aren't beautiful by any means, and though they might have a lot of power, they're not power and beauty.
Right.
The same thing takes us back to what we did on 360 Degrees when we talking about Mariah Carey. Like, if she did do it, who cares? It's Mariah Carey. We laughed it off. I mean, But when we see, let's say Stephen King did it, would we laugh it off, or would we stop buying his movies and stop reading his books and blackball him? Will we not go see It too, or whatever it's going to be? You know what I mean?
First of all, I still see It. If there was a picture of Stephen, let me not even go that far, because I haven't seen It yet, so I don't even know. I'm trying to put my, put stock in a movie I haven't even seen yet. But I put it like this, right? If somebody came out and accused The Rock, right, I would just say, I would agree with you. I'd say, you know what, we would need more proof on that. But if like 6 women accused The Rock, and not just 6 women, 6 different women who didn't know each other, had the same story, who just came out and said, The Rock did this and The Rock did that. One person, that's like, they probably had, just like the whole thing with George Takei, right? That was probably something personal between those two that just took a wrong turn. So while it may have been wrong, I wouldn't put it down as like rape or sexual misconduct. But for someone like Brett Ratner, right, it's been a pattern. And these aren't women who were just like nobodies. Like, these are people who have some clout and don't really have anything to gain. And that's the main thing. If they were just in it for the money, that's one thing. So if they were filing civil suits and stuff like that, that's one thing. But they're not filing civil suits. They're just coming out and telling their stories. So they're not looking to gain anything from it. So if it was some chick that The Rock met at a diner someplace who we bought a drink for, and then she came out and said, oh, he tried to do something to me, then that would kind of be like, I may need to see the video on that. Hope the club has video. I would be skeptical of that. But if it was a whole bunch of women who came out and had nothing to gain from it, weren't filing civil suits or anything like that, that's a different matter altogether.
This phenomenon has made me very wary about speaking to women in the workplace at all. Oh. Hi, bye, thank you, goodbye. That's all these days. I mentioned standoffish. Oh, he has an attitude. Yeah, but as soon as I'm in your mouth talking to you, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he likes me. He's flirting with me. Ooh, I think he's I'm not with that. He has a girlfriend. He's sexually harassing me. You know what I'm saying?
I mentioned it before on the show. Like, if someone has a new hairdo, I'll compliment your hairdo, but that's as far as it goes. Right. I'm not complimenting your outfit, even if I think it looks nice, because I don't want it to be taken the wrong way. Because at the workplace, Patrice O'Neal said it best. He said, men working with women are like grizzly bears working with salmon dipped in honey. It can be rough sometimes, but you always want to be professional on the job. But sometimes even being nice can be seen as unprofessional. Right. But there's a difference between saying something that may be taken the wrong way and forcing a woman to have oral sex with you. That's a different matter.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, some of these instances is just like what people might consider normal interactions of a guy who's interested with a woman, and boom, all of a sudden, sexual harassment. Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about all the instances, because I really stay away from the news for the most part. I get all my news from POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. And that's all I need, really. That 1 hour a week is, fuck everything else.
Well, I appreciate that, sir.
Saying, you know what I'm saying? My medicine don't always work for me.
and put it like this: somebody like Roy Moore, right? We talked about Roy Moore on Saturday.
Talk about Roy Moore.
There's more women who are coming forward who were saying that Roy Moore sexually assaulted them when they were like 16.
Now, is this the same Roy Moore who's never tried a case but is being recommended for a federal judge position?
That's somebody totally different.
So who's that?
Now Roy Moore is the judge who is running for Jeff Sessions' old Senate seat in Alabama.
Oh.
So he's the one who had that relationship with the 14-year-old.
No. We're not going to say he did. Did he confirm? Has that been confirmed?
Well, here's the thing.
You gotta stop doing that. That's crazy, man.
I know, but here's the thing. He had an interview on Fox News, and his interview was not convincing at all. So there were some people who worked with him who came out and said, "Oh yeah, it's common knowledge that he dated teenagers." And I do have to say one thing.
Come on, nobody said that.
Yeah, no. One of the people who he used to work with.
Yeah, used to work with him. They scoring because they ain't getting that paycheck no more. Fuck.
Well, to put it like this, I mean, it's not like Roy Moore is, super rich. I mean, he's a judge, so he's not like,
hello, they get a lot of bribes and stuff to make stuff go the right way. Let's keep it real. We know a couple dirty judges. We know a couple dirty cops. You know what I'm saying?
But put it like this. Before, people were kind of backing Roy Moore, and after that interview, where he was just really shaky and just not, convincing, a lot of people who were backing him are now saying, hey, you should step down. Even Mitch McConnell, perennial piece of shit Mitch McConnell,
we don't call Mitch McConnell around here. We call him Bitch McConnell.
But even Bitch McConnell is saying, I believe the girls, Roy Moore should step down. And I was like, is this The Onion? Like, did he really say that? He really said that. I was like, what? My theory is this, right? They're not going to pass tax reform. Tax reform, Jesus Christ. It's like calling a leprechaun, a little person. It's tax cuts for the rich. They call it tax reform is tax cuts for the rich. It's not going to pass. It's pretty much dead in the water. Enough Republicans have come out against it where they may not bring it up for a vote. Now, this is just maybe temporary, right? They may throw some more money at them and make them dance like, like the male strippers that they are, and then make them change their mind, except for McCain. McCain's dying, so now he's got a conscience. But, and I joked about that. I'm like, I know Donald Trump can't wait for McCain to die so McCain can stop voting against his horrible, terrible ideas. But they figure it like this. If Roy Moore, he's toxic, right? If there's not going to be a vote on tax reform, he's not worth the trouble, right? Because we're going to get him in office and then what? We still won't have enough votes to pass it. So why even bother? That's my theory. There's no truth to that. But it just seems like all these people who were just like holding on to him have just decided, you know what, he's not worth the trouble. And that was before today when all these other women were coming forward and saying that, yeah, he assaulted me when I was 16. You figure it like this. Even the people who stayed with him, like Sean Hannity, are paying the price. Keurig, if I'm pronouncing that right. They make the little coffee makers where you pop the little cup in and it makes you a flavored cup of coffee. So Sean Hannity, after his interview where he was defending Roy Moore, a lot of sponsors were just like, okay, we're not advertising on your show anymore. And Keurig was one of them. So Sean Hannity's fans were so mad that they were posting videos to Twitter and Instagram of them smashing their Keurigs. Now, here's the thing. Who gives a shit? They've already paid these people for these things. So it's not like they stole them and smashed them. They own it. They bought it. They paid money for it. I looked it up today. Those things start at $50, right? For the single cup ones. And then they go as high as between $125 and $200 for the more expensive ones that I've seen, right? And they're smashing their own property to boycott the fact that Keurig won't defend a channel that's promoting a child molester. I know, alleged child molester. I know. But it's absolutely hilarious. Like, anybody who's sticking with Roy Moore, they're taking an acid bath. But the thing is, he's still going to get elected. Because it's Alabama, and Alabama would much rather elect a child molester, alleged child molester, than a Democrat. That's absolutely hilarious. Well, it's absolutely terrifying and sad, but it's also a little bit hilarious. And and people can't understand why we look down on states like Alabama and Mississippi. They're like, why are we looking down on us?
I'm from Mississippi. Watch your mouth.
You know, I rag on Mississippi a lot because, you know, they always have a reputation of a racist state. So you figure between Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas, they're shifting, you know, like who's the most racist state this week, you know. And if Alabama decides to elect an alleged child molester over, and here's the thing, all these women who are coming forth on Roy Moore, none of them know each other. That's the thing. So if they all knew each other, like if they all went to the same school or some shit like that, but no, none of them know each other. So, but none of it matters because he's still going to get elected, and Alabama will just cement its racist, creepy history. So, now I will say one thing, right? This one I just kind of slid in here today because I was going through my Facebook thing at lunch and I saw an article, and this is old news, about 5 young men who decided, for whatever reason, they were going to throw rocks off the overpass. I think this happened in Flint, Michigan. So I don't know if it happened in Flint or the guy who got killed was from Flint. But anyway, they were at the overpass and they were throwing rocks off the overpass. And one of the rocks, a 6-pound rock that they threw off the overpass, went through a windshield and killed a man.
No.
Right? Here's the thing, and then CNN was breaking down the physics of it, right? You figure a 6-pound rock dropped off an overpass. The overpass, at the top of the overpass is 20 feet. So they said that rock was traveling at about 26 miles an hour. And then a van was moving at 70 miles an hour because it's an overpass over a highway. So that's pretty much, I mean, connecting like that, that's pretty much instant death, right? Here's the thing. All 5 teenagers are being charged, and now this is from an older article. I didn't realize till too late that this was an older article. So I think the last thing I heard was that they're being held without bond. But all 5 teenagers are being charged as adults. They're between the ages of 15 and 17. They're all being charged with 1 count of second-degree murder each, and they're also being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, 6 felony counts each of malicious destruction of property, and 2 other lesser charges. The 6 counts of malicious destruction of property because that wasn't the first rock that they threw off that overpass. They hit other cars with rocks from that overpass. Right? Now, this is really a non-story at first. Because, yeah, they're doing what should be done. They're trying them as adults. They have no bond. They're charging them with second-degree murder. They can be charged. They can be in prison for anywhere between 10 years to life, depending on the sentencing. So I'm thoroughly satisfied with that. The man who was killed was engaged to be married and had a 5-year-old son. Now, what made this a story for me was not the story itself, but people's reaction to it on Facebook. Because somebody on Facebook, trying to garner some sympathy, had a picture of the 5 of them at their arraignment, because they're all sitting at the same table, looking pitiful. And the caption was, should they go to jail? Now, I sifted through about 100, maybe 120 answers, right, of people responding. I'd say about 85 to 90% of the people were just giving even 1 or 2 word answers, either yes or hell yes, right? Simple. That's it. One word answer, 2 word answers. Yes, they should go to prison. That's it. And now I'm going back to looking at a cat video where a cat gave a guy a high five and a fist bump. I actually posted that video today. It was absolutely hilarious. Now, other people were trying to kind of be all, because it's 5 white kids, right? And the reason why I bring up the fact that they're white kids was, of course, some people brought up, like, what if they were black, to the people who were trying to say, well, maybe they should only get 2 or 3 years in prison. Or maybe they should get 2 or 3 years in prison and then have to donate half their paychecks to the widow's family. Or they were doing all this holistic chamomile herbal tea horse shit on what to do for this, right? Here's my thing, okay? I ripped this straight from a television show, okay? So if this sounds familiar, that's why. If someone robbed a liquor store and they were running and they threw a gun in a dumpster and 2 kids found the gun, not knowing it was real, they play with it and one of them shoots the other, should that kid go to jail? No, of course not. There's no malicious intent in that, right? When you're throwing rocks off an overpass, okay, you're fucking 15 years old. I don't give a shit how many physics classes you fail. You have to know that throwing a rock off an overpass, at the very least, you're going to maim someone. At the worst case scenario, you're going to kill someone. But the fact that people, and I know some people weren't doing it for race reasons, right? I know some people brought that up as, well, what if they were black? One person actually said, well, we need to just give them, I think one person said probation, and then we need to teach these children. And then I responded and I said, you know what? Since we're in the mood for teaching children, this poor widow has to teach her 5-year-old about death. Because when she tells her 5-year-old son that daddy's never coming home, he's like, well, he'll be back tomorrow, right? She literally is saying that she keeps asking for him, and he doesn't, because he's 5, he doesn't understand about death. So he keeps thinking his daddy's going to come home, and he's never going to come home. If you want to teach kids, teach that kid about death. I want to see you teach that class. Teach the children. Get the fuck out of here with that horse shit. And I'm not always the super bloodthirsty type when it comes to teenagers, but come on, really? I think that people who were trying to justify this, not justify it as in justify what they did, okay? Nobody was justifying what they did. Let's just get that clear. But the fact that they want to give them a lighter sentence, and one person said probation, and he just got like 35 responses, and I didn't even read them all. I was like, okay, you stepped in that one, buddy. But when you're talking about, like, yeah, they should only get 2 or 3 years, I'm like, no. Put it like this. If they get convicted and they get 10 years, I'd be happy with that. If they got 10 years for that each. If they gave them life, I'd be happy with that too. But if it's less than 10 years...
Snake, man. You a cold-blooded snake. Just look into my eyes.
But if they get less than 10 years, that's some bullshit. What do you think, Blue? Do you think that 10 years would be too much for
these kids? You know what I mean?
Between 15 and 17. There was 5 of them. 2 were 15, 2 were 16, 1 was 17.
Your mind is big enough and large enough to know right from wrong. But who would have ever thought that dropping a rock would kill somebody?
Me. And I know hindsight is always 20/20, but you figure, I mean, they weren't just tossing pebbles. It's a 6-pound rock, you know, that they had to drag to the top of an overpass. So, I mean, like I said, I don't care how many physics classes you failed. And cars going 70 miles an hour?
Let's keep it 100. These cats couldn't have been that smart. One, they're throwing rocks over an overpass. So they probably were not really astute students. I'm pretty sure if you look at their academic records, they probably had low grades, maybe even an IEP or a 504 plan to accommodate them academically and behaviorally. These people need help. They don't need incarceration.
No.
I would say 2 to 3 years rehabilitation, extensive rehabilitation, not hardcore jail time.
I say 10 years.
And you would notice that by keep giving them 10 years of straight incarceration, you are actually programming them to be more of a monster than what they are currently.
That's actually somebody's argument. Somebody's argument was, well, if you give them 10 years, they're going to be thugs. And I'm like, oh, so they weren't thugs beforehand?
They're babies.
When they were throwing rocks off overpass? You know who else was?
Everybody got done. I've shot guns at New Year's Eve when I was a kid. New Year's Eve celebrations, fireworks. I was like, have fucking fireworks. I got real fireworks with these guns, nigga. Compton for life. Da 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 da. And to shoot them up in the air. Sometimes I might shoot them off to the side. Who knows? Somebody might have got shot or grazed or whatever. I'm not the same person I was at 15, 14 years old. I promise you. I better not be. You know what I'm saying?
And that part I understand.
Need a chance to be able to recalibrate, recuperate, rehabilitate, pay their debt to society. But I don't think 10 years is. See, you're definitely an American. You know what I'm saying? By your ideology and stance. Because the way you look at crime and punishment, see, you wouldn't see nothing like that in some other countries in which rehabilitation, you know what I'm saying, giving back, understanding the premise of your crime. What is 10 years going to do for us? All it's going to do is cost us between $35,000 and $40,000 a piece per person to be in a jail cell where they're raped and possibly get HIV. Come on, man. Where they do that at? America. Mic check 1 2.
10 years. I still say 10 years. All right. In retrospect, 25 years may be too harsh because it's not premeditated murder to get being charged with second-degree murder. So in retrospect, 25 years may be too harsh. But if they get less than 10 years,
I don't even think second-degree murder should be the cause. Manslaughter. Negligence, manslaughter.
You know, somebody said manslaughter, and I was just like, I wouldn't be mad if they lowered it to manslaughter. I wouldn't be mad at that if they lowered it to manslaughter. And my thing is this, if they were like 8 or 9 year olds, I'd be like manslaughter, maybe less than that. Like I wouldn't be that harsh if they were like 8 or 9 year olds. Then I'd be like, okay, let them get a little bit of time in juvie, you know, rehabilitate them, you know, let's see what we can do with them. But
yeah.
But I don't know. He's 17 years old, man. You know right from wrong.
I promise you, 504 and IEPs. These cats ain't smart. I promise you.
We'll see
if they do that many years in the jail system where they're not that smart, they're going to get pimped out. They're going to get fucked. They're going to become bookie boys. They're going to come out really hardened. They're going to come out and do some really bad things when they get out. At 27, 28, 26 years old, they'll probably get good. They might get good, so they'll probably get out in 24, 25. If we haven't rehabilitated them, all we did is send out a more messed up product into the community when they get out here in this world with no job skills, no education. Is that the America we want? Not I, said the cat.
No, but here's the thing. And I'm not going to go into this whole, but this is the America we have bullshit because, you know, the whole point of being a progressive is trying to make change, you know. But it's not like these kids will be treated different than anybody else who gets sucked up into the system. So you have kids who were trafficking marijuana, who may get who might get a harsher sentence than these kids, right? And they're in the same system, and they'll have the same outcome. So my thing is this, right? yes, I get exactly what you're saying. So I can't disagree with anything that you're saying. But at the same time, you know, I think that's a different matter altogether as far as rehabilitate. I mean, you figure in some places like, I want to say Sweden. I should have pulled the article up real quick. But their prison system is really a lot different than America's because they teach actual job skills and their recidivism rate is low compared to America, like really low, like less than half of our recidivism rate. Because in America, it's basically, they're not looking to rehabilitate people. They're just looking to make money off of you. Put them on the phone.
To correct that argument, we look at the private prison system. This might not be the show for that. But anyways, I'll just go into it real briefly. We look at the private system as something that's a profiteering. That's really not the case at all. What it is, it saves the state money to privatize prisons. And by privatizing it, the company can make a profit themselves by the money given to them by the state. So if you have a friend, a family member, somebody you might have known that does prison time, you will see the kind of food they get is below the FDA recommendations. You will see that the things that they might have gotten in the past, they no longer get. You will see that it's a more deplorable state of events or state of being than what was previously when ran by the state system. I say all that to say this. When we look at privatize, it's not the profit monster you think it is. It's just that a company is profiteering off the money they get from the state to run it cheaper than what the state would have ran it. And that's
and the thing is, they're finding out. That's why Obama, well, of course, President Dickhead reversed that, but that's why Obama was trying to terminate he couldn't terminate the contracts, but he was saying that for all these private prisons that they use on the federal level, he was like, yeah, once these contracts run out, they're done. Because he found out that they're not, I mean, aside from all the substandard conditions that you mentioned, which is very true, they're not saving any money. Now, even if they were saving money, it's not worth the substandard conditions of the regular prisons, but on top of that, they weren't saving any money at all.
People have to go in there and say they're Jewish or Muslim just to get some type of standard or good enough food because of the diet restrictions of those religions. But if you're not claiming Hebrew or claiming Muslim, you're getting slop. I mean, stuff that you don't even recognize as food, and it's deplorable.
Well, that's the thing, because
are living under. Yeah, they did crimes, but no crime indicates that you got to be treated less than. It's supposed to be rehabilitation, not shit in your man station.
No, you are absolutely right. So.
Yeah, we are so far off course. Let's get back on track.
All right. Sloppy segue, but I was watching.
You have to say sloppy segue. Is it really sloppy?
Yeah, I know I got on O for that. I was just poking some fun at her. So, but I didn't want you to think that I lost my mind. Just letting you know, hey, but there is a gentleman named Stephen J. Klobeck. He runs, damn it, I didn't write it in my notes, but he runs some fancy resort. He's a multimillionaire. I think he's worth over $100 million, right? And he also donates to the Democrats. Okay. He was on TV. He's on MSNBC, whining like a little bitch. You ever watch Forget Paris, a movie with Billy Crystal? Where Billy Crystal was he was an NBA referee. In the mirror
and tell me what you see. Well, guess what? I look just like that. Do you think I saw
it? Well, anyway, I saw it. I don't really remember. It was on cable. I had cable, but there was a part where he was mad about totally something else, and he took it out on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the game. And he ejected him from the game. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was like, what are you doing? This is my farewell game. And Billy Crystal was like, well, let me be the first to tell you, farewell. That's how I feel about this guy. Because this guy is whining. He doesn't like the fact that a lot of progressives are labeling millionaires and billionaires as the villains. So he's basically telling Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, he's just like, they need to cut it out, or else. Matter of fact, his exact quote. Hold on. He said, I talked to Schumer, I talked to Wyden, which is Ron Wyden of Oregon, I've talked to Pelosi. And I said, if you use the term billionaire again, I'm done. We should be a party of business. It is very, very disturbing when I hear billionaire or millionaire, talking about them being the bad guys, that is. He says, and I told them to stop it, knock it off. I've made it very clear. I'll cut your money off, and others will do the same. So he's basically proving what we already know about the Democratic establishment, that they're controlled by the donors. And when you don't do what the donors want, the donors will cut the money off. So did his little rant on MSNBC, did that help the Democratic establishment, or did that hurt the Democratic establishment? It hurt them, because now they can't say, oh, well, you're just grasping at straws, or you're just... No, he said that shit right there on television. He said, if you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to cut the money off. Now, are all millionaires and billionaires villains? No, of course not. Bill Gates, very recent story, he donated $100 million, invested $100 million to fight Alzheimer's disease. Now, here's the thing about that. The first thing people would say is, well, you know, it's not his money. It's through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In this case, that's not true. It's $100 million of his own money, not through the foundation at all. His own personal money. So $50 million is, $50 million is going to go to the Dementia Discovery Fund, and another $50 million is going to go for startups, for ventures working in Alzheimer's research. That's $100 million of his own money. You have people like George Soros, William Buffett, who are, and dozens of other millionaires and billionaires who are lobbying the government to not only to not cut taxes on the rich, but to raise taxes on the rich, because they know where their bread is buttered. They know what side their bread is buttered on. Put it like this, Blue. We get money, right? We spend money. Sometimes because we want to, most times because we have to. But we get money. We try to save as much as we can, but most of it we spend, right? That money goes into the economy. It circulates. When a rich person gets money, we're talking about like the 1%ers, they take the money and they put it in offshore accounts. They hoard that money. You think Mitt Romney is shopping at Walmart unless it's for a publicity stunt? No. He doesn't shop at Walmart. He doesn't shop at Costco. You understand? They don't shop where other people shop. They don't shop in the community because they're super rich, right? And even people who are supposed to be quote-unquote liberal heroes like Madonna and Bono from U2, when the Paradise Papers came out, they found out that they have money offshore that they use to invest in stuff to avoid paying taxes. So no one's really exempt from that. So you figure they know that if they start raising taxes on the middle class, they're going to stop spending money. They stop spending money, people like Soros and Buffett will stop making money. Not that they don't have enough, but just as far as everybody else who's trying to come up in business. You know, like we mentioned before, if you have a coffee chain you want to start, right? Or you're going to start it in Washington State, in Seattle, I should say, where the minimum wage is $15. You're going to start it in Alabama, where the minimum wage is $7.25. So some people would say, yeah, let's start it in Alabama because it's a cheaper labor cost, right? But you have to look at it like this:
is how many? What's the customer base going to look like? Will it be as profitable? Is it
exactly
Seattle?
Exactly. If your minimum wage in Seattle is $15 an hour, people have more money to spend on disposable stuff. I'm not going to say unless you're an idiot. Some people really love that Starbucks. But when you're cutting corners, right, to pay bills, what's going to go first? That $6 cup of coffee you buy every day, that's going to go before anything else. Logically, that is.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
So it's a
like
cheaper cost.
And it's really expensive. Exactly.
Right. So it's a cheaper cost of labor to do it in Alabama, but where your customers going to be? They're really going to be in Seattle, where people have more money to spend. So Buffett and Soros know what they're talking about. People like the Waltons are just greedy. They're vampire capitalists.
Sam Walton and his people?
Yep. Wait, is it Sam Walton? No, I don't know what his name is. Oh, okay. You caught me off guard on that one.
Master's greedy children. That's funny, though. It's like, I ain't saying Sam was the most up and up cat, but it's like any business, when their children take over, game changer. I used to love Wendy's. Wendy's was my shit coming up. When we went to Wendy's, that was like a treasure. It's like, oh my gosh, Wendy's. Burger King was like, hell yeah, Burger King, McDonald's, yeah. But Wendy's, man, that was a state of affairs in the Blue household, let me tell you.
Yo, let me tell you, for me, where in Long Island, like McDonald's was the standard. Burger King, it was like beef laxatives. You know, it was just like, ugh. Right. But Roy Rogers and Wendy's, they would,
right?
If you said,
when his daughter took over, game changer. The meat ain't the same. The prices ain't the same. The product ain't the same. It's basically, it's a flip up. Burger King, Wendy, or McDonald's today. With the exception, McDonald's has gone down a lot. I don't even fuck with them hoes no more. Between Burger King and Wendy's, it's almost the same to me. Wendy's, Burger King, Wendy's, Burger King. Oh, I want a pie, Burger King.
Yeah, they do make good pies.
If children take over, game changers. They look at the money. Ooh, but that granddad did this or dad did this and da-da-da. And so let's cut this and do this and do this. I remember when it was Sam, and I hate to digress like this, but it's a segue that had to happen. I apologize. I remember when Sam was still alive, Sam Walton, when he was still alive, there was so many products that had made in America or made in USA or something to that effect. You walk in Walmart right now, you won't find a single tag made in America. Watch out. Right. West Coast, Compton for life. Another thing. Don't tease me. I got clothes in my closet from that era that are still wearable today. Versus, if I bought something in this newer area, how long would it last me? Watch out now. West Coast. That's how we.
You know, I joke about that. My mother had a dustpan. I forget how much she paid for the dustpan. It's like a Rubbermaid dustpan, right?
Okay.
My mom's been gone a few years now. The last time I was home, my father still has that dustpan. So that dustpan is like 16 years old. Yeah, it's all old and stuff like that, but it still works. So why would I buy a dustpan from the dollar store where 8 months later the handle's going to break off?
8 months is good, because damn it, the one I bought from the dollar store lasted not even 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I do have a problem with stepping on shit. That might have something to do with it. But that's not the point.
You figure it like this, like those energy-saving bulbs, right? No lie. I moved here in 2007.
Okay.
Right? Well, December 2006, I should say. So 2007 is when I started with my current job.
Okay.
And I bought lamps when I got to my... So maybe 2 years later, so 2009 or so, I moved into my own place and I bought new lamps and I bought the energy saving bulbs. So they were expensive. They were like $11 a pair.
Okay.
But I still have those light bulbs. The only reason why one of them broke is because they got damaged in the move.
Exactly. Same boat. But I got mine for free through Duke Energy program.
Oh, nice.
And I got those maybe in 2009. Damn, here it is 2017, 8 years later, and it's still good. And watch, as soon as I say that, click, 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 click. And like you said, the same thing. The only reason one isn't here anymore is because that lamp broke and the filament and everything got stuck. I had to use a potato to get it out of the socket. Yeah.
That's a good trick.
I'm thinking about it. I'm so much on the fence. Get one of those smart bulbs, but those things are so expensive.
How much are the smart bulbs?
Man, easily $50.
Oh,
I might have seen one as low as $39, but
that's more than my electric bill.
For me, just to tell Google, hey Google, turn off such and such light, it ain't worth it to me.
Put it like this, man. I spent like $15. I got a remote that you just plug the lamp in there and you just hit the remote and it just turns the lamp off and on.
Right. I got one of those too. I paid $5 for that.
I had to pay a little bit more for that. I didn't want to wake up with my room on fire because I skipped on it.
Well, it's a port light. It only gives out 25, like equivalent to 25 watts. It's basically a night light.
Oh, okay. That's not so bad. But I know we digress, so there's one more thing I want to talk about.
That happens, yeah.
That's all right, man.
Okay, they got them as low as $16 right now. So depending on the brand name, $35, $50, $18. I just want the one where I can tell Google or Alexa, hey Alexa, turn off living room light, or Alexa, party mode.
You know, it's so weird that we're living in the future. Basically, all the stuff that happened that we watched on TV when we were kids is like happening now. Like people talked about like Dick Tracy had like the radio watch, and now people got Apple Watch.
I got that. My iWatch is there.
So, all right. But real quick before the show's up, I want to talk a little bit about the election that happened on Tuesday. Right?
The election that happened on Tuesday.
Well, yeah, last Tuesday. Today's Monday.
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah, you keep getting me though. You keep catching me off guard. But there were a lot of Democratic victories in that election. So you figure Danica Roem, right? In Virginia, she became the first openly transgender woman to win a House seat in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And I will say that she is extra classy because a reporter gave her a chance to say something bad about her opponent because he ran on an anti-trans agenda, and actually, I mean, this dude was like a 13-time incumbent. He actually wrote a bathroom bill against transgender people in that state. And when the reporter tried to give her a chance to take a cheap shot at him, you know what she said? She said, well, his name was Bob Marshall. She was like, well, Bob is a constituent now, and I don't insult my constituents. And I was like, wow, that was really classy. To put it like this, I grew up, not grew up, I'm in my mid-40s, I'm already grown, I hope.
Yeah,
but
I hope so. Yeah.
I went through the age of Obama, so I would have tried to be classy in that situation, but I would not have been that eloquent. Because I'd have been like, nah, I'm not going to answer your question. Stupid. I would have said something along those lines.
Right.
You figure Sheila Oliver became the first African-American female lieutenant governor of New Jersey. Right? You have Vi Lyles, if I'm pronouncing her name right. Her first name is just V.I. So Vi Lyles, a little bit of local news for us. She is a African-American female mayor of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
You know. You have Ravindir Balia. I know I butchered the gentleman's name. I apologize. He is a Sikh.
I thought it was a woman. Damn, you really did fuck that name up.
Yeah, he is a Sikh, and then it was funny because when I was writing my notes, I wrote it as Sheikh, like S-H. Now I'm like, no, that's not right. It's Sikh, S-I-K-H, right? Mm-hmm. He is actually now the mayor of Hoboken, New Jersey. So he's the first Sikh to have that position. He was city councilman for 8 years.
Like a real Sheik? Like Sheik?
No, Sikh, S-I-K-H. Oh. Now, and like I said, I kept getting those two mixed up in the spelling, you know. And I'm going to be a jackass because when I saw his face and I saw that he was first mayor, I didn't see what town he was. I'm like, what is he, the mayor of Queens? Because I figured it like this. A lot of Sikhs get mistaken for Muslims because of their turbans, and actually he was actually getting a lot of hate. Like I don't know if it was his opponent or people who represented his opponent, to be fair, but they were putting out flyers on people's windshields calling him a terrorist, which goes to that point that people think that he's a Muslim. Sikhs and Muslims are different religions, but it didn't matter because he won. You have, I keep saying, I think it's Wilmot. I keep saying Wilmont, M-O-N-T, like Lamont. But Wilmot Collins is now the mayor of Helena, Montana. He is actually, he was a refugee from Liberia who became the mayor of a town in Montana. But I found out he is only the second black mayor of Montana. The first one was Edward Johnson back in 1873. Go figure.
You said 1783?
1873.
Oh, sorry, I'm dyslexic.
No, but that's still a long time ago. That's, what, 140 years ago, you know, in between black mayors. and not only he's the second black mayor and the first refugee to become a mayor. And also in Virginia, going back to VA, Kathy Tran was also in the House in Virginia. She is a refugee from Vietnam. She came to the country from Vietnam as a refugee as an infant, and now she is serving in the Virginia House. And to me, here's my thing. You know how I feel about illegal immigration? I'm not for it at all. I'm very Republican when it comes to that. But I am 100% for immigration reform. But I have a soft spot for refugees, right? So while I may be anti-illegal immigration, I am pro-refugee, right? Because it's just the spirit of helping, you know, something that's missing a lot in America. And my thing is this. To me, there is nothing more American than someone coming here as a refugee and then becoming a public servant. Because it's all about opportunity. What it's supposed to be about, by the way. You know, people talk about the American dream. If you work hard enough, you know, you pay your dues, you know, you get ahead. And that hasn't been the case in 50 years. So that's why progressives are trying to fight their asses off to try and get us back on track. And try and get us back to that time where your hard work would pay off, right? Now, there were two governor's races in one in New Jersey and one in where was the other one? Oh, in Virginia. So Phil Murphy won in New Jersey, and then Ralph Northam won in Virginia, right? But there's one election that went under the radar that was important to me. So as great as all these were, and don't get me wrong, there were a lot more that I just didn't have time to talk about today. But there were a lot more great people who won elections for the Democrats, right? So I didn't forget them. We're just you know, stripped for time. But a gentleman named Lee Carter, right, won a seat in the House for Virginia. He defeated Jackson Miller by 9 percentage points, right? Jackson Miller was the incumbent. He was the majority whip. So this guy had deep pockets as far as raising money for his campaign. And Lee Carter, who was a virtual nobody, came out and beat him. Now, why do I find this Lee Carter gentleman fascinating? Why do I find him important in all this, right? Number one, he ran as a Democratic Socialist. Who else do you know runs as a Democratic Socialist?
Bernie Sanders?
Exactly. Bernie Sanders was his role model. I mean, he patterned himself after Bernie Sanders and FDR, right? Also, he ran without the support of the DNC because he is against money in politics. He is pro-labor and against money in politics. So he started out with the DNC, and once the DNC kind of got what he was all about, they kind of dropped him, right? Now, it's not that he didn't have any support at all, right? This is from, that's the second time I did that. I didn't put the name of the article up here. But it's a great article. Read it when you get a chance. I think I do have it bookmarked. It's an article from New Republic. They had a great article about Lee Carter. So this section is from New Republic. So Carter did receive funding from Democratic-aligned groups as well as support from Win VA, a PAC supporting Democratic House candidates run by former Congressman Tom Perello. But Carter's victory is a testament to his own campaign and the work of outside groups, including the D.C. chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, which caught the rising Democratic wave that swept even unlikely candidates into office on Tuesday. Okay? Here's my thing, right? And one last thing about Lee. How Lee got into politics. was through a little bit of tragedy. He was installing a lighting control system, and he got shocked because the lighting control panel he was working on was miswired by an electrician, right? He got 245 volts running through him, through one hand and out the other, right through his chest. And he blew out his back in the incident. He could barely walk for months. What got him into politics was his frustrating battle with the state to get workers' compensation for his injury. And that frustration caused him to enter politics. He said, when I was able to walk again, I decided I'm not going to just walk. I'm going to run for something because nobody should have to go through this. You know, that's extremely inspiring. You know, the system's broken. You don't just shrug your shoulders and be like, well, that's just the system we got. No, you get in there, you do your best, and you try and fix it. And that's what this gentleman did. He's very inspiring. I'll put it like this. If I ever get to own more than one suit, I'd probably run for office. If I had 2 suits, I'd run for office.
This is the most inspiring story on the planet that anybody. When I was a kid, they told me this. I didn't believe it when I came to America. You could be anything you put your mind to. I said, that's bullshit. I'm black and I'm from another country. But if this proves, besides the fact that I can't be president because I'm not a native born, but basically you could be anything you want to be. If a buffoon can rule the country, anybody could be anything they want. If a hybrid male of black and white persuasion could be president, then you could be anything you want. Yep. There's nothing that's not undoable. If this isn't a clear representation of the Matrix, I don't know what is.
Yeah. I mean,
I think look at me like I'm crazy because I always talk about the Matrix. But we didn't realize how important that movie was at the time. At least I didn't.
Yeah.
But it speaks to this day and time right now. In fact, I'm changing the show. The whole umbrella is not going to be the Urban Breakdown. It's going to be the Matrix.
Just don't get us sued. There's no Neo and Morpheus here.
The Matrix with 3 X's.
Just
I came on here to listen to porn. What the fuck is this shit?
Just like Uncle Luke, where he was just like, oh, it's not the same name, Luke Skywalker, because I use 3 Ys. But you figure like this, Blue. You may not be able to run for president because of the rules, but you could run for Congress. Yeah.
Hey, my money ain't long enough. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And black people don't support black people.
I'm pretty, oh God, that's a whole nother show. We'll talk about that on Saturday. But this guy didn't have any money, but he hooked up with the right people, so he got packed and stuff like that. Right, but I'm pretty sure his skin did not look like mine.
It's just like how I saw something the other day. It was just like, like your friend has a business and he posts his ad or whatever on Facebook or Twitter or whatever.
Right.
You rarely ever see that person's post getting forwarded by their 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 friends. You might see them post multiple times, but you don't ever see their stuff being shared too many by their 2,000, 3,000, whatever, however many followers. But they say if you did that you don't see that same trend with Caucasians necessarily. They support through money. They support through marketing, word of mouth, advertising, versus funding. And we gotta do a better job of doing for ourselves. It's like we're almost like crabs in a barrel. We don't want to see somebody do better than us or do something that we haven't been capable of doing. Or we can always say, "Oh, my budget don't allow for it." What's a share? What's $1? Because that's $1 more than that person had. When I seen your bitch ass at Burger King buying a double Whopper and cheese meal deal, knowing your fat ass ain't need that shit. You know what I'm saying?
I saw a video about that the other day. About some woman who had a video about how she was fed up with black businesses, and then somebody responding to that video, And I don't want to speak on that too much because I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough people who ran their own businesses to really get into that. But I will say, just to wrap this part of it up, the reason why I brought up Lee Carter was because I hear a lot of people, a lot of my friends are talking about, no, you can't go too far to the left. You got to be a centrist if you want to win elections, right? A lot of these people who won on Tuesday were not centrist. They were to the left, You know. Now, I will say that Ralph Northam is a centrist. You know. So granted, yes, he's better than the piece of shit that he ran against, right? Granted, that was Trump's guy, and he ran a very Trumpian campaign with identity politics and all that other stuff. So, and Trump said, well, you know, he didn't embrace me enough. No, of course he embraced you enough. He ran your playbook to the letter, and he still lost. So, but you don't have to be some mealy-mouthed, you know, suck-up corporate tool to win elections. Okay? This guy, Lee Carter, ran to the left. So, and he still won. And he won by almost 10 percentage points that he beat his opponent by. The incumbent. Because when you're to the left, right? I mean, yes, you can be too far left, but I mean, in these days, being to the left means, hey, I want workers' rights. I want universal health care for people. That's not far-fetched. I know Hillary was out there. It's just rainbows and unicorns. And guess what? Hillary fucking lost. Because you tell people that you can't have what they need, they're not going to come out and vote for you. Because those issues that are quote-unquote to the left are issues that Democrats, Republicans, and independents, that resonates with them. And this gentleman right here is living proof of that. So, did Ralph Northam win because he's amazing? No. He ran because his opponent was a piece of shit. That's why he won. So let's just get that out of the way. So we'll see what Ralph does as governor of Virginia. We'll see what he does. Because trust me, we're keeping an eye on him. Because the thing is, everybody who got elected, especially the governors, especially Phil Murphy and Ralph Northam, they're going to be keeping their eye on him. Because just because the Democrats did great last Tuesday does not mean that they're going to sweep it in 2018. It does not mean that. But if these people who were elected do a good job in the next year, then we could keep that momentum going. But the problem is, if they keep pushing these mealy-mouthed suck-ups, these kiss-asses, these hookers with the penis, or whatever you want to call them, and they keep pushing them in these elections, we're going to lose that momentum. The only way there's going to be an impeachment of Donald Trump is if we take the House in 2018. That's the only way. The Senate doesn't really matter. It's the House that matters. So if we can flip enough seats in the House, and don't get me wrong, it's a big deficit. But we would need the House and the Senate to impeach Donald Trump. Now, I will say one thing before we wrap it up. Somebody made a great point, right? They were like, all right, let's say we impeach Donald Trump. Who's next? Mike Pence. And Mike Pence is scarier than Donald Trump because he's a lot more competent than Donald Trump. And let's just say we get rid of Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Who's next? Paul Ryan. So it's like Russian nesting dolls, but each core of that doll is more rotten than the shell. So almost the best thing is to keep Donald Trump in office, let him be as incompetent as he wants to be. The only scary thing is if he gets us a nuclear war with North Korea. But other than that, if that doesn't happen, leave him in there. Let him be incompetent and stupid, and then let him lose his re-election bid in 2020. Now, don't get me wrong. I want Trump gone. I really do. I don't want another election with Donald Trump in it, because if he put it like this, let me ask you a question, Blue. What did you think George Bush Jr.'s chances was of re-election?
George Bush Jr.?
Yeah.
I didn't think he had a snowball's chance in hell.
I did not either.
Happened to it, because his father, in my opinion, didn't really do anything wrong and only got to one term.
You know what killed George Bush Sr.? Saving the country killed him. Because he came out and said, that was his campaign promise. Reading my lips, no new taxes. But Reagan left the Treasury so depleted because of his tax cuts, because of Reaganomics. He had to raise taxes. So he raised taxes, he saved the country, and then he loses to Bill Clinton. You know, because people remembered, well, he said he wasn't going to raise taxes, and he raised taxes, but people didn't realize he had to raise taxes to save the country, to keep it from going to another Great Depression. So, now, I'm pretty sure there are more reasons than that. I wasn't as big into politics back then as I was now. But that was the one thing that stuck out to a lot of people who I talked to.
What I do know is that the things he did caused Bill Clinton to be the greatest savior of the budget ever, and which he had very little to do with that at all. And that it was really the stuff that Bush put in place before he left office.
Yeah, yeah.
But we don't give Bush that credit. We give that credit to Bill bitch-ass Clinton.
And it's kind of like with Trump trying to take credit. Like he was talking about Lou Dobbs. And I already said that Lou Dobbs, I'm pretty sure Lou Dobbs sucked Donald Trump's dick at one point in time. I'm pretty sure, like actually physically sucked it, because he just gushes over Trump so much when they have that interview, and pretty much, and then Lou Dobbs credited Donald Trump with all these high job numbers. A real journalist would have said, "Yeah, what programs did you put in place that contributed to these high job numbers?" And he would have folded like a lawn chair, because he didn't do anything. You know how many legislative victories Trump has since he's been president in the last 11 months? None. He has no legislative victories. Anything that he's done through executive order, because he's a complete and total buffoon. This guy goes to overseas to meet with his boss, Vladimir Putin, and then or Steven Seagal calls him Vladimir Putin. Oh, that fucking guy. And anyway, he sides with Putin over the FBI and the CIA about him tampering with the elections. So they have proof that the Russians meddled in our elections. Now, when I say meddled, right, there is no proof of them actually flipping votes, but there was proof of them trying to hack into election offices, trying to gather information on voters. That they did have proof of, but they don't have any proof of them actually hacking voting machines and flipping votes. That they don't have. So, but when I say meddling, you know, about trying to sway public opinion with all those Facebook ads and stuff like that, so there was meddling, right? So all your intelligence agencies are telling you that Russia's meddling in the election. Vladimir says, maybe it wasn't me. And then Trump was like, maybe it wasn't you. I'm going to go get the fake news media for telling those lies. Fucking idiot. And he did it on Veterans Day. Oh, that's your president. Not you, Blue. I know you didn't vote for his ass, but you know.
But you did because you didn't vote.
Oh, you know what? I get that all the time, and you know what? I don't even let it faze me.
It should. You punish yourself. You should go in the corner right now and bang your head on the wall and be like, next time, I don't vote.
Let's just see who's running before I say, oh, my friend got so mad at me because I put up a post that said, burn your bus 2.0 after the whole Donna Brazil thing. And he got furious with me because he was like, you would actually not vote again? I'm like, let's see who they run. 2020 is a long time away. I'm definitely voting in 2018.
Right here, we got two new buffoons. Like, the worst of two evils again. Let's do a market, don't vote for nobody, and whoever wins, wins.
I've never been in that position before. I've never been in a position where I didn't like both candidates. That's never happened to me before. And I didn't. And I will admit,
where I would have voted for a Republican anyway. Fuck them.
Oh, I don't think I'd ever vote Republican, but you know. I'll say I didn't handle it well, but I will. Hindsight is always 20/20. But if Bernie didn't get cheated, I might have just voted for Hillary and just not told anybody. I would have voted for Hillary and then be like, I didn't vote for Hillary. I really voted for Hillary because, you know, whatever. She's a Democrat, fine. But you know, Bernie getting shafted like that, it was just like. I just couldn't do it, man, because it's just kind of, it's like I said before, me and my horrible analogies. It's like watching Batman save a couple of kids from an orphanage and then finding out later on he gets drunk and kills hookers. And then you're just like, but the kids? He saved the kids, I guess. Huh? You know. I don't know. But hopefully this election will be easier in 2020. It'll be, oh, okay. Oh, this guy's a good candidate. I'll just vote for this guy. As opposed to, because I will tell you, when I heard that Hillary was running, I was like, Hillary, huh? Who else you got? and I don't know. Joe Biden would have been the same thing, really, you know, because Joe Biden is as corporate as you get for the Democrats. I mean, I like Joltin' Joe. He was a pretty good vice president. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he's not that much better than Hillary when it comes to the issues. So,
next week I want you to talk about, probably should tell you this off air, but I don't give a fuck. I'm from Compton. I want you to talk about Ed Buck, a Democratic donor by the name of Ed Buck. Yeah. Okay. Just Google him. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Wink, wink. Wink, wink. Compton. Okay. And that concludes another episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to The Urban Breakdown in order to get hit shows such as POLI-TRICKS and 360 Degrees. You can get them in all major podcast apps, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Screecher, Shout Out, whatever one you can think of, you can find it there. Stay tuned, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend, and then their friend. And even people they don't like, they should tell. All right. Any last words, Merc?
I've been saying this for the last few shows, but you got a year left. If you live in a state that has voter ID laws, you still got time to get an ID. So save up your money, get your ID, get registered to vote. And if you live in Virginia,
don't have an ID right now, shoot yourself. What the fuck are you thinking, dude? Get your life, man. That's basic. You know what I'm saying?
It's basic unless you're elderly or a student. You know. And I'm talking about state IDs. So students usually have school IDs, but school IDs are not good enough to vote in a lot of voter ID states.
All right. That's good advice. And if you're indigent or don't have the money, you can get a state ID for free in North Carolina.
Yeah.
All right, and that concludes this episode. We's out.